So some learners are observed to have difficulty either what others are speaking or what ideas that they will express or they will understand what others saying. So there are some children that may have disability while others displacement development. So when we say disability, yung inborn na development na nangyayari sa kanya, while yung yung development na late is yung parang na-late lang yung or na-delay lang yung development niya sa speaking or sa communicating. So, first definition, types of communication, impairments, and disorders. First is communication. So, is the interactive exchange of information, ideas, feelings, needs, and desires between and among people according to Hayward 2013. So, it is also the way of narrating, explaining, informing, and requesting and express feelings and opinions. So in short, when we're expressing our feelings or when we are interacting to others, yun yung communicating or communication. How is speech different from language? Do you have any idea? So first is speech. So speech is the expression of language with sounds or oral production. Speech is produced through precise physiological and neuromuscular coordination. So respiration or act of breathing, phonation or production of sound by the larynx and vocal folds, and articulation, use of lips, tongue, teeth, and heart, and so palates of speak. So we all know that when we are delivering our speech may kakaibang sound tayo na ginagamit, lalong-lalo na pag gusto natin, when we are expressing our feelings na gusto natin maging creative tayo or when we are talking to each other. So, nag-e-effort tayo to speak, so mag-iiba yung speech na ating nadi-deliver sa iba. Next is ang language. So, is used for communication, a formalized code used by a group of people to communicate with one another. That is primarily arbitrary according to Hayward 2013. People decide on symbols, their corresponding meaning, and rules that make up a language. So, may iba't ibang language naman tayo na ginagamit, lalong-lalo na kung iba yung tribe natin. Halimbawa, yung sa Christian, may ibang language tayo, sa Muslim, may ibang language, sa mga ITs, may ibang language tayo. So, may iba't ibang din silang rules sa language nila and may iba't ibang meaning. Yun yung language. Components of language. First is phonology. So, phonology refers to the sound system of language. It is the smallest unit of sound within a language. Example is, the dog has 3 phonemes. Ang phonemes is, kasi when we are going to pronounce the word, all the alphabet word in the dog is magagamit. Halimbawa, dog. Magsasalita tayo ng dog. So, yung D-O-G is nagamit, di ba? Dog. Naintindihan nyo? Yun yung phonemes. May tatlong phonemes yung dog kasi nagagamit yung D-O-G when we are speaking. Do you understand?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. For the next one, morphology. So, morphology of a language refers to the smallest unit of language that has meaning and which are used to combine words. So, sounds, symbols, or whole words are example of morphemes. The words so, the, and boy consist of one morphemes. So, ang so, the, and boy is one lang siya na morpheme. Pero pag ang boys, lalagyan na siya ng S, dalawa na siya na morphemes because boy, di ba isa lang dapat yan siya, diretso. Pag sa paglagyan mo ng S, may parang dalawang morphemes na siya because we add S in the boy. So next, syntax. Syntax is the system of rules governing the meaningful arrangement of words. Also include grammar rules. semantics. So semantics refers to the meanings associated with words and combination of words in a language. So this also includes vocabulary, concept, development, connotative meanings of words and categories. Pragmatics. Pragmatic revolves around the social use of language, knowing what, when, and how to communicate and use language in specific context. So, pragmatics is mayroon siyang parang knowing siya what, when, and how to communicate. Yung what, when, and how to communicate, doon na napapasok ang pragmatics. Speech impairments. Do you have any idea about speech impairments? Speech impairments are communication disorders such as stuttering, bulol, di ba bulol? Tapos, impaired articulation and language or voice impairment. Such disorders are significant enough that they can adversely affect us student academic performance. So, may instance din, di ba, na nabubuli yung students pag bulol siya mag-deliver ng kanyang language. So, types of speech impairment. So, but before that, we will watch a video.
Accurate movement gestures. Children who have other kinds of speech sound disorders might be more likely to substitute one sound for another, or perhaps always leave off a final sound. They tend to make errors that are more consistent. For example, some children don't continue the airflow for sounds like s, and instead will stop the airflow. The next example will actually show you a child who has phonologic impairment, where the errors are more consistent and predictable, and there's very little difficulty with the actual accuracy of the movement. He's just producing the wrong sounds. This is a child who does not have childhood apraxia. Her speech sound errors are quite predictable. We call these phonologic errors. She doesn't have inaccurate movements, but is simply using the wrong sounds. Examples from this clip are nipe instead of knife, poon instead of spoon, and outtide pool for outside pool. Note that she is starting to correct her errors. Her vowels, speech rate, melody, and stress patterns are all quite good. This type of speech sound disorder is much more common than childhood apraxia of speech.
Hat.
What's this?
Window.
What's that?
Tree.
Okay, let's put him on the side. He's making noise, we can't hear you.
So, makikita natin doon yung speech impairment sa bata. So, malalaman pa natin ito ngayon sa ating topic. First is the articulation disorder. So, description. A child is unable to produce a given sound physically. Examples are substitutions, omissions, distortions, and additions of speech sounds. Mayroon tayong example dito. So, I want a blue lollipop. So, instead of I want a blue lollipop, yung bata is na babasa niya or na express niya yung sentence through I want a blue lollipop. Di ba may mga bata na ganyan? Yes. So, another one, can I get 3 bananas? So, instead of makakapagsalita siya ng ganito in a sentence, yung words na magamit na and I eat tinanas. Di ba may mga bata na ganyan? Doon ito yung siyang articulation disorder. Pag may mga bata kayo na narinig na ganito magsalita, articulation disorder yung mayroon siya. Next is phonological disorder. A child produces multiple patterns of sound errors with obvious impairment of intelligibility, there is also noted inconsistent misarticulation of some. Example, that pie is good. So, instead of that pie is good, yung sa pag-deliver ng sentence ng bata, ang magagamit, cat by is tooth. For the next one, we have fluency disorder. So, difficulties with the rhythm and timing of speech, stuttering is an example of marked by repetitions of consonant or vowel sound, especially at the beginning of words. Prolongations, hesitations, interjections, and complete verbal blocks, according to Raming and Shames 2006, cited in Gargiello 2012. So, ito yung example ng blocks. So, sa blocks, I want a banana. May prolong. I want a banana. Next is prolongations. I want a banana. Itong blocks pala is I want a, parang nagtitik pa siya, parang na-stop siya ba? So, next, ang prolongation, I want a banana. Yun yung sa prolongation. Sa repetition naman is, I want a banana. May mga bata, di ba, na ganyan magsalita? May mga kilala kayo? So, yan yung fluency disorder. Next is voice disorder. So, in voice disorder, problems with the quality or use of one's voice resulting from disorders of the larynx, voice may be excessively hoarse, breathy, or too high pitch. Example, phonation disorder, breathiness, or hoarseness. Mura siya, dihangak ba? Dihangak. Next, language disorder. So, language disorder involves problems in one or more of the 5 components of language and are often classified as expressive or receptive. So, pag mayroong, yung na-discuss ko earlier, pag mayroong ganun yung mga bata, may language disorder siya. Next is the identification. Communication difficulty is often as one of the most common red flags observed by family members, daycare workers, and early childhood teachers. So, to screen children with communication difficulties, early childhood professionals use questionnaires and developmental checklists to determine the severity of the delay as compared with typical language development. So, mayroong survey na nangyayari para malaman kung may language disorder yung bata. So, first, how do specialists determine a speech or language problem? So, first, we have here case history and physical examination. So, specialists assess the necessary backgrounds about the child's birth developmental history. So, ang health record or achievements ng bata or scores and adjustment. So, for example, is i-assess nila yung background ng bata if yung paglabas na ba niya or pag-born niya na ba, mayroon na siyang disorder na ganun base sa kanyang record base sa kanyang health record. And yung mga test niya sa school, i-assess din yun. Dito makapasok yung case history and physical examination. Next is hearing. So, hearing is tested to determine whether an organic hearing problem is cause of the suspected communication disorder as discussed in the previous section. So, sa hearing, pag ina-assess din yung hearing kasi baka nahihirapan yung bata sa pag-communicate because of hearing. Kasi para mahina yung pandinig niya. So, baka may disability siya when it comes to hearing, kaya hindi siya makakapag-communicate ng maayos. Kaya yun, ina-assess din yung hearing. So, articulation. So, articulation, a child's articulation skills are assessed, which includes identifying speech errors. Yung kanina na na-discuss natin yung mga speech errors na ng mga bata. Yung mayroong mga examples kanina. So, another one is phonological awareness and processing. So, dito, if ang bata ay may difficulties in processing sounds in language, as well as learning, segmenting, and identifying phonemes, mayroon siyang disorder sa language. Also, nahihirapan yung bata in language, lalong-lalo na sa pag-learn how to read. Pag yung bata is nahihirapan sa pagbasa, mayroon siyang phonological awareness and processing. So, overall language development and vocabulary. So, dito is formal tests may be used to measure a child's overall language development and vocabulary. So, may measure yung development ng bata at saka yung vocabulary na sa language. Next is assessment of language function. So, ini-emphasize dito how the language is used kaysa sa structure and form ng language. So, dito naka-focus, gina-assess yung language ng bata kaysa sa form ng language sa paggamit ng bata. Next is language samples and observations in natural settings. So, ma-identify din ang difficulties ng mga bata through play and authentic assessment. Sa paglalaro nila, ma-identify din yung ang difficulties or language difficulties ng bata. Next is learning characteristics. Children with communication disorder frequently struggle across social setting, whether at home, school, or in other places in the community. So, masabda naman siya na. Next is expressive language difficulty. So, ito yung mga expressive language difficulties ng bata. Limited vocabulary, incorrect grammar or systems, expressive repetition of information, difficulty in formulating questions, difficulty constructing sentences. Yan yung sa expressive language difficulties. Sa receptive language difficulties naman, when we say receptive language, willing to consider or accept new suggestions and ideas. Yan yung sa receptive. Yan yung receptive. Following oral directions, sa pag-follow ng mga directions ng mga assessments. Understanding humor or figurative language, comprehending compound and complex sentences, responding to questions appropriately. So, next, children with communication disorders may also experience behavioral difficulties because they struggle in expressing their needs and ideas. Some children resort to inappropriate behaviors out of frustration or to get the attention of significant others. So, mahihirapan yung bata na mag-communicate if meron siyang experience sa behavioral difficulties. So, a 5-year-old child with expressive language disorder may resort to grabbing toys and hitting his peers who try to take the toy he was playing with the day before. General education adaptation. So, the use of universal design for learning, UDL, and practical tips to be used in the classroom. So, first is universal design for learning or UDL. So, dito sa UDL or universal design for learning is hands-on activities dapat ang mas magandang ipagawa sa mga bata. If necessary, i-avoid dapat yung mga teacher-centered na discussions, reading, and lectures na ginagawa ng teachers. Dapat learner-centered yung ginagawa ng teacher sa pagtuturo ng bata para hindi boring sa kanila. So next is practical tips for the classroom. So the following list provides practical suggestions that teacher can use in the classroom. So ito yung magagamit ng teacher sa classroom when they are discussing. So first is allowing the child to sit near the teacher and the blackboard. So, if allow natin yung child na mag-sit sa near sa blackboard is makikinig talaga yan, di ba? Kasi para mahihiya din siya sa teacher niya pag mag-uusap siya sa katabi niya. So, yan yung sa allow the child to sit near the teacher and the blackboard para makikinig talaga siya sa discussion. Next is, get the child attention before giving directions. Call the child's name or use a prearranged signal. Example, tap on the table or hand on the shoulder to help the child focus and listen to the direction. Pero wag naman yung pagalit na pag-tap ng ganyan. Yung parang medyo makarinig lang yung mga bata. Dapat, unahin muna na kunin yung attention ng mga bata para before ka mag-give ng discussion or direction. So next is, use picture charts and avoid visual aids. So mga picture charts kasi yung bata is ma-attract siya if pictures and mga charts yung mga gagawin mo. Parang yung mahahawakan talaga nila, yung ma-appreciate niya, lalong-lalo na pag colorful yung visual aid na ginagamit mo. Next is, speak slowly and clearly without exaggerating speech. Another one, simplify directions into short steps. Break down multiple step direction and give each one at a time instead of just repeating each one. So, sa pag-simplify ng direction o sa pag-give ng direction, dapat short lang yung ibibigay mo. Or, kung hindi naman kinakailangan yung directions na yon, kinakailangan na sa next activity or sa next na pagbibigay ka na direction, huwag mong ibulto na ibigay yung direction kasi hindi na yan maiintindihan ng bata. So, number 6, provide a written copy of direction for a task so the child can refer back to it and at his or her own pace. So, mag-provide, as teacher, we must provide a copy of directions for a task para hindi na siya paulit-ulit na mag-ask ng directions sa iyo, kundi mag-ulit-ulit na lang siya na basahin yung directions na ibibigay mo. Next, number 7, use gestures to clarify information and use permutated instruction so that peers without difficulties can serve as a language models and learning bodies. So, kinakailangan na may pair sila or may kasama sila para yung walang disability na mga bata is matutulungan nila yung may disability. Next, provide extra time to prepare for oral language activities. Do not call children with communication difficulties. So, provide extra time to prepare for our oral language activities. Kinakailangan na mag-provide tayo ng time para mayroon silang maisip or mabibigay na ideas pag mag-oral ka na. So, i-avoid din natin na magtawag na when it comes to oral recitation or oral activities, avoid dapat natin na magtawag ng mga bata na may difficulties. Understand? Yes. So, number 10, model correct language forms and use appropriate times, 3 to 5 seconds or more, to give the child time to think and respond. And then the last one is explicitly teach vocabulary that is needed in the learning context to promote better comprehension. So, thank you for listening. That's all.